Randy.
Sorry.
Did we use all the markets? We have to wait this one second.
Spiritual and
Sorry. And it's blue.
yeah.
Who has a blue?
Somebody did last week, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I was sick a few days before the last meeting. Anyone wanna fess up? You two? Friday morning, about 1 o'clock? Y'all should just call each other like
Good morning.
Anything happened while you were out for the week? Nothing?
I got one successfully signed.
Nice. You got a good too.
Yeah, I got a firebroker signed. But I broke it down super simple. I'm like, this is just the annoying part, the legal stuff that you gotta sign in order for me to show you property, but I'm representing you legally. And then that's it. And then they're like, okay. I literally just said those sentences. Did I say 2 sentences?
So you never mention your commission?
Negotiable. Is it
By your broker is not negotiable.
the buyer?
By your broker.
I left it open.
You have to put something in there. When it becomes negotiable, you're going to property.
Correct.
So should be what's in there.
All 3%.
You can always go
I looked at that last week. I was sure.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Question about that. So I actually did get one signed last week by somebody I've been working with over a year now. And I did put in other terms that I forgot how I worded it, but something about if the seller is offering a lower amount, it'll be negotiated or something like further negotiation. I forgot how I worded it, but just so my client knew that they're not paying that extra. They're not exactly married to that. It made them feel a little more comfortable that. In there.
But what we have to understand is there's this is the partner code here. This is what we get paid. So if you want to be a discount, go for it. But that's not how we're gonna roll. So I get it for right now because everything's so new. But guys, this is our new reality.
But doesn't the buyer broker also goes to the seller? So if you show that to the seller.
Exactly. You're gonna put that there. And that's the thing. It doesn't automatically go to them, but it's not that they have requested. You do have to provide it. So then if they're looking, they're saying, well, what is she worth? Yeah, she's already just coming in here. You see what I'm trying to do?
Yes.
I agree with you guys 100,000,000%. This is not money. But this is our new reality. So we have to stand firm to our value.
I have another question. So like, let's say we have a buyer that only wants to see houses where the seller is offering concessions. Can we put that on the buyer broker agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
And you should put that on there. Otherwise you could get terms and spirits. You don't want to do that.
So how would you put that in other terms? Which
Yes.
is like buyer only wants to see homes. That are offering concessions.
There's a box in there to check.
Okay.
So it's the 2D properties excluded from representation. This is There's also the form BIPP, which is the buyer identification of preferences and priorities. The buyer broker. Yep. So to C and D, look at those two sections. C says that the buyer has completed a form that's called a BIPP. Okay. Buyer identification of preferences and priorities.
Okay.
So we have it, or D, sorry, properties excluded from representation.
Okay, and then put in.
What would you word it?
See homes that are not offered.
Sweet.
Repeat that.
Buyer does not want to see, has requested not to see
Homes that are not
library
session.
sections.
But the BIPP form that they created for us is.
So, yeah, you can state that in here, showing that they do not want to see it.
Right.
Perfect.
So what just came across from Rich this morning was that it's, when you put a listing, it's no longer a concessions, yes or no. It's just optional. So the more you change, we don't let them in.
Well, they said
Somewhere it's not even on there anymore where it says.
that's required. They change it.
What's
again.
that?
Yeah.
The agent can mark if they want to say yes or no, or they're not.
So again, the MLS changed, whether it was last night or this morning. I got the email this morning. You guys all probably did too. This is what is going to happen. Probably mid next year. So we're just gonna have to pivot and adapt.
You would just call every agent and ask them if they're.
I'm gonna stick with it, yes. We're all the listing agents and ask if they're offering concessions because. Again, we're a couple of days in and we're already being switched, right? So now we'll switch back.
I have to, I wouldn't show.
Yeah.
And then
Did you take a picture?
and then my friend, she's doing her flyers, like the market that I go to. Her flyers say.
Did you guys all see our new writers? We have in the room right now. We have 2.5, 3, and 3.5. All for Oh, you guys. So we have 2.5, 3, and 3.5.
Yeah, that's cool.
And until someone.
We can use those?
They're in here.
Okay, I'm gonna take one today. Don't mind.
You don't know still.
Now, Lisa, in confidential remarks, are we allowed to put?
No.
Nothing, nothing about concession.
Guys, that's why we're in this pickle. Get pickle, Aaron.
Put it on your social, you can. On your own social ads.
Yes, we can mark
And
it.
she said like the flyer, like open house flyers, you can put there.
Yeah.
In bold.
Social media, that's why we've got these writers. Again, we're all trying to work together. So you can see. Tourist friendly.
I thought that was cool when I opened the box and the little white thing on the key said 30%. I was like,
I love that idea too. Maybe we should get some of those too.
Yeah.
Right?
There's 2.5, a little white little tag.
Yeah. But remember, there's always gonna be those agents who are gonna be the Karens of the world, right? They can't explain it to their seller, don't wanna try.
It's not about that. Karen would do that.
They're still out there, they're everywhere. I had questions, I'm sorry.
I had a buyer walk my house a couple weeks ago. He said that his agent is offering him $7,500 closing cost credit. Because he's in the healthcare business. I know that they use discounting it. That is so sad.
You get what you pay for. And, yeah, there's a couple until we all as agents realize what our value is, that agent has no value. And you're all thinking, because I know, well, she's getting a paycheck, is that, but we're gonna have to go through some ugly to get on the better side of that. So, that really, really sucks. I mean, that's the lender's job to give the credit because they're in the medical field.
They should give it out of commission.
She must be her own broker, because you're gonna do that.
See if I can, up it up a little bit more for him. If I can give him more, so he can go with me.
There's gonna be so much of that, but there's one agent right there, guys. That's what they're gonna be doing. Because desperation breeds ugly. When people get desperate, they get. ugly. Okay, so are we done on buyer broker questions? But if you have any, just,
Yeah, I'm showing, property. Dispute, couple, but one of was. He didn't want it, he said that, I'm not gonna sign it because I had another agent ask me. And, I fired it, so right on the spot. Like, why is that? He said, because, I mean, maybe he has a good point. He says, I don't know you, or I didn't know her.
Right.
I don't want to commit myself 30 days with an agent that I might, I don't want to probably want to work. But that makes sense. I think this buyer broker thing is just a bunch of garbage. That's why.
So that's
Because it shouldn't be like that. You know?
we have the PSRA.
Yeah, but you can explain it, to a lot of these people, but they just have the mindset. You know, you can get them into 30-day thing, that they.
But if you put the option of the PSRA, right? It's just for showing that house, right? It's just for showing that I think it gives you 3 spots that you can put properties on. If they want to see more, then you better be getting a buyer broker. But for the first couple, use the PSRA. All should have at least 3 copies of those. First, I was saying 6, but in my head, I'm going, they're going to change it. Don't waste paper. So just do 3 of the PSRA and 3 of the buyer brokers, and just keep them with you. Just to have yeah, I get it. I don't want to be locked in someone I don't know. Would you? No. So use the other form. That's why they gave us these options. Right. There's gonna be people who are gonna have an opinion no matter what, and we're just gonna have to pivot to. Like Tara said,
And they want to get an offer, then you're submitting for them, they gotta sign that by.
right, and then that's not even a hard conversation to have because they're not gonna run an offer. That's how you get paid. So.
Three homes.
Yeah. Is that for 211?
Yes.
Thank you. Oops, I can do it.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Somebody just gonna say, yeah, 3 homes is like the whole day, right? And I'm,
Well, for you, 'cause you're going out to Rio Vista and back to Lodi. And
you know, I haven't proven my worth yet, like bringing that conversation, but also saying, hey, that form only allows me for 3 properties. I need this now. We're doing this, put that in an ultimatum. And that's how I got my.
absolutely. So he's starting with PSRA. Done with the buyer broker.
Lisa,
Uh-huh.
I went on a listing appointment yesterday, and, we all know we do this for a long time. So I had to come in so prepared, because we have our buyer broker agreement, we have the listing agreement, and we have to explain so that these ones are. And so they had talked to a broker, kind of like what we were talking about, and that broker was like, oh, you don't have to pay the commission, blah, blah, blah. So I had to sit and I said, okay, we're gonna categorize like almost like talking to second graders.
Yeah.
We're gonna go over the listing agreement and what's going on here, and then we're gonna, making it separate. Because there's so much information. So fingers crossed. I mean, I explained it in every way I could, like, why you need to offer a concession and why we are going to, if you're gonna use me. And today they're interviewing someone else as well, facility. So we'll see how it went, but I just did a lot. I was so, everything was just organized.
What did you want them to do?
So I was set at 5%, for the total. I said, just keep that other 2.5% in your mind when we price it, because we are going to give that concession. And so they were like, okay, well, can you represent us, on the buying side as well? Can we get a discount or whatever? And I said, of course, we'll talk about that then. But right now, we're gonna offer up 2.5, yeah. And so, and it's like $1.2 million, but man, talk about questions of, are you a broker? And then they kind of threw a new one out. I wanted to tell everyone, but they're like, oh, like they brought up like Remax and like Century 21s. And I'm like, why would you want to use Remax or Century 21 when you have a top producing Zillow team that would be representing your home? I don't. And so I kind of twisted it. They were old school, and I was like, I haven't heard this in a while. Like, I mean, it was being thrown at me. I was like, man, I just thought it was a friend. I mean, we'll see, if I've never not gotten one when I went in, but it's a new world, and I'm open to. I want to hear. I asked the daughter, to call me today. Like, I want to know if they went with the Remax person or whatever, I want to know kind of like why. Did she say they wouldn't offer out a concession? So I want to know, or I'm gathering. I might have to bring Weston on this one because he's an older generation. So I'm a woman.
Battle in these listing agreements, guys, is the fact that we have agents out there telling people, no, you don't have to pay it. I know exactly what they're thinking. They're not even having a conversation with the seller. They're waiting for that offer to come in. And then they'll negotiate it with the seller because they're thinking, oh, well, the purchase agreement is going to take them back. How horrible is that? It's really, really bad. It's not educating the client. They're going to have to do something to the buyer's agent. They're going to have to. If they think they can sell their house without, eventually they will, sure, if it's priced right. And their listing agent is out marketing it and showing it themselves, which we know how that goes, right? Why do you think listings are the best? You don't have to do anything. That's what agents say. You do it. Now you do. You're not going to offer a concession. Then you do. You're going to go sell that house yourself. Okay. Any more buyer broker listing agreement? This is great. I think everybody's getting something from all of this. Purchase agreement is going to be pretty simple, but it's really not any tech. Right? I hear that in my brain when I'm going to sleep at night. I turn on my noise and I still hear it's horrible. So that's the box you check. Seller agrees to pay the obligation of buyer to compensate buyer's broker under a separate agreement, FAR form, SPBB. Now, a lot of you have written offers and you've had to do this form, right? Any ugliness, any questions? Pretty simple. What do you put in there? Seller agrees to pay buyer's broker 20% of purchase price, or what's a flat rate? That's gonna have to match your what? The buyer's broker. Agreement. That has to be the thing. And then you negotiate. Because when you give this, the seller can then and should say, let me see a copy of your buyer broker to make sure those numbers match up. And then they can negotiate it. That's as a listing agent now, you're going to have to ask for that. Do we have anyone who's listing offers in? Yeah. I don't think so. But you do. You need to ask for that so that you can compare it and then negotiate it. So one thing, the buyers always paid our. Go ahead. Right. So a lot of listing agents should be saying, like Necessity did, is 2.5% or 3%, right? This is the concession. Keep that in the back of your mind, is what she said, right? So that's what they're thinking. But if they got an offer that comes in and the numbers all work, it could be anything. They could say 2.5 in their head. They get this amazing offer, and the buyer's agent wants 3%, and it works. And it works, right? So that's why I don't want you guys to cheat yourself by putting that 2.5. Because when we take a listing, the seller doesn't care about anything but their bottom line. They don't really care about what the sales price is or Anything, even your commissions, they really don't. They want to know, how much am I going to get out of this house when it closes escrow? And if you go in thinking that when you take a listing and you do your seller net sheet, you win every time. How many do a seller net sheet when they take a listing? Misty, did you do one? Did you take a net sheet?
I did not take a notes.
Always take a net sheet. But well, how do I know what they owe on their house? You ask them when you set the appointment. Because how else are they going to get the numbers? They don't know. Half of them don't even know what they owe on their house. So, hey, why don't you look at your last statement? Give me your last statement. Gives you the taxes. It gives you everything you need to fill out that one-page net sheet. Really simple. Yes. They're able to kind of feel what they are. And here's another thing. Sometimes seconds don't show. Okay. So to make sure you know, do you have a second? Any liens on the property? Just questions you need to ask. Solar. Okay, so 3G3. It's really, except for my new agents, who I'll go over this in depth with, but for this class, that's really all we need to know on here. 3G3, buyer broker agreement. Does anybody have any questions about the SPBB or how to anything? I think everybody's so good. I'm not even really good at these. Explain the 3G3. So on the purchase agreement, item 3G3, which is the top of the second page, you have to check the box. Seller agrees to pay the obligation of buyer to compensate buyer's broker under a separate agreement, and that's the SPBB.
And my question is, where do you put the? Okay.
So you're on back one.
So when you click that box.
Oh, I see.
It's but it's the last page of your little packet.
Okay.
Is the SPBB.
Okay.
Because there's nothing in the purchase agreement about the compensation. But then, percentage of whatever's on your buyer broker agreement.
It's automatically pops up.
Why they didn't just put that in there? Why did they?
That's part of it.
Why did they just put that there?
Because they know they're gonna change it. Honestly, what they're trying to accomplish is the fact that the buyer must pay for the job that we do. And it's hard to get that through our heads because for me, 26 years, that's not how it's been. This is how it is now. When you go to the doctor, you pay the doctor, right? People come to you, they need to pay you. You're providing a service for them. It's just a new way of doing business now. Fortunately, we can go in and ask the seller to compensate for that, some, if not all. But if we have a 3% buyer broker and your buyer has the funds to pay you 3 and the seller's only conceding to 2.5, let's get 0.5% because this is your worth. That's what they're trying to, not trying, that is what is happening. So if you feel like you're a 2% agent, then that's your value. Can't help you. You guys are worth a hell of a lot more. And you have to start realizing that. This is no different than any other service that's provided. You go to the doctor, the dentist, anything, your lawyer, you pay. Except nobody questions the lawyers and the doctors. Because they question us because we've been doing it the way we've been doing it forever. But our value is still there. If a buyer wants to try and navigate purchasing a home on their own, okay. It's not going to work out well. But that's why we have to be better. 100% better. This is not an easy job. If anyone talked to me before they got their license, I told them this is not an easy job. This is not easy money. You make less than minimum wage. So let's go. Right? I did this job because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I was never a stay-at-home mom. I had a nanny. Grandma Vicky. Because I got, now I'm an office mom, but I got so busy immediately, which is fabulous, right? But my kids say Grandma Vicky. For those that think that this is an easy job, situations like this, that's beautiful. I'm also the nanny.
You guys just see the little floating duck on top, you don't see. Butterfly. The house is Brian.
This is really hard, but you are worthy of making this work because I'm looking around, Wally, Christina. They've been doing this a long time. Misty, right? A long time. Christina, a long time. And we can make this work. So we have to get rid of the fear. We have to just do the job.
Problem is that right now, you know, with these things coming up, a lot of these agents, like the one I told you about, are just like, they're all like so excited about this because like, for instance, we just talked about, she went to sell it. The other agent goes there, so why would you have to pay? You know, just pay me. How much you gonna take? 10,000, 15,000 on a $1.2 million home? That's how they get their foot into the door. And it's, there's like hundreds of them. Actually.
Asking them to pay the commission. That agent is a fat liar, big fat liar. Where does their reputation go? We have to realize and understand that this is the way it's going to be for a while. We've dealt with this before all these changes, right? We had our 1%ers.
Because it's so. 19 years I've done this. At least 6 or 7 people they stole my.
And it's gonna keep happening. That's not gonna change.
To have a buyer, how much this guy charging you 5%? You can't want to do it for 4%, double ended. My seller called me and said, you know what, I want to take it out of the market. I spent a month and a half, you know, work so hard. You know, did it with my houses. I'm sorry, you know, just had to change the part. And one time I went to Europe for a vacation, I came back, I'm like, but I haven't signed the cancellation on the listing agreement. I just took it out of the market. So I come back and I look at this guy, he just goes there the next day, he lists it and when it goes pending, the next day, and he sold it. So first, I called the broker, I said, you better take care of me, I know I'm already so did Mona. And everybody in the office were saying like, you wanna have that kind of vacation to go to, come back and get paid. And it's hard to put it to time. And that's what I'm saying, it's just like, I know you're gonna have to fight for what you're worth. But it's so hard, you know, because somebody else will just go because, like she said, everybody, especially if they sell another property, they're like, well, you're gonna have to, you know. Not
I
hard.
get that, but if we're no better than the others and the problem never goes away, that's why we as a brokerage have to say we will not cave. We have standards and that's the way it is.
Track just put everybody in their lane. Pretty everybody does. So go on vacation because you can, right here, you signed it, you pay, and you stole the listing, you pay.
That's one thing she was really good with Texas things, you don't play. Huh?
Yeah.
You don't play.
No.
I got.
So, purchase agreement. Any questions on the purchase agreement? Again, nothing else has changed. I said.
Well, I feel like I feel so I kind of line on the line. So. Right?
It's credit for the, yeah. It's your SPBB. Each has a credit, you're gonna put it G1.
So
Absolutely.
like if I'm making a purchase, contract, I wanna get 6 grand from the buyer last close. Still,
3G1.
so he was still like asking them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all part of the negotiation.
Concession includes commission, credit.
It's all negotiable. That's why there is no form for us as listing agents to put what our concession is going to be. That form doesn't exist. There's a reason for that. And that reason is because it's supposed to be negotiable upon a purchase agreement. Not negotiable upon a listing agreement, negotiable upon a purchase agreement. So part of, how do I put this? So multiple offers. What do? We write the cleanest contract we can, right? That's part of this now. If we know we're up against multiple offers, we have to have a clean contract. But that still doesn't mean you're not gonna get paid. You still have to put that in here. But contingency removals, buyers left and right. I want that house. Let's remove all the contingencies. Okay. Right. So that's what's going to be part of the clean offer. What is our rights for the seller and buyer concession to pay their agent? The buyer's concession to pay their agent. Buyers are paying us. They've always paid us. I think I started on this road a minute ago. Buyers have always paid us our commission based off the purchase price of the home. Right. It's not any different. It's just we're wording it differently. The buyer's still paying us off of what they offer for a house. Now, Sean was talking about, and Sean's plan is really brilliant, guys. It really is. And I hope other lenders come up with something similar. But again, has anyone heard from their lender?
Yeah, so
What
in
to
in the lender on the closing disclosure or the loan estimate, it has now a section H where it will show buyer concessions.
Yep.
There is now a section.
Yep.
So there will be a section, so let's say that's the buyer concession, but let's say it's seller concessions, it has both boxes now. In section H of a closing or LE. So it is on that.
Which is no different than what's always been though, guys. So we always wonder about appraisal. But when you're up against multiple offers, it's the highest price, right? And then it usually always works out, usually, not always, but most of the time. It works out. This is no different. If your client has to offer more to get the house, then that's what they have to do. And the appraisers are gonna have to fall in line, just like all the lenders are gonna have. Right? But right now, it's quiet. Because they don't want it. Because this is the new way of selling real estate. Remember, appraisers don't get paid unless we have a deal. So we're at the top of this. Right? Lenders don't get paid unless we give them clients. They're gonna have to do something. They just don't want to yet. And what Sean did is not like the countrywide thing, that's a Sean thing. But I sound like I'm tooting his horn. I never used him, I don't know, but I did love what he put together. Because he did like a little buyer template.
Yeah.
And what?
Right, so we-
Oh, he's got it as like a spreadsheet. He's putting in like your commission, next to the home, any credits.
Financing.
He's financing the buyer's agent. Forward. He did a presentation. And it'll be in the. Oh, yeah. So. If you don't watch all the other selling this. Yeah.
Just like what's really bad. If you email him, I think he'll send it to you. He'll do a video like that for your buyers too.
He talks about how he takes the buyers, their obligation to pay us. Always has been, we just didn't word it that way. And how he makes it work. It's brilliant. So call him, watch the video. You're gonna send one to your client.
The only thing that hasn't gone through with the lenders yet is PA. So if you have a veteran and there is no concessions being offered, do not take your veteran there because the veterans do not pay title fees and they do not pay fees. So just be aware.
So the one thing that the FHAB did was they upped their percentage that a borrower can take to cover our concessions, but if there's none being offered on the seller side, none. You get nothing, so that's why we have to still call. Otherwise, it's all negotiable with a purchase agreement. But it's what we have to do now.
Those 3 loans and all of them went FHA because FHA interest rate is at 5.5%. So that's what they want. So now it's a big thing. And if interest rates do drop, like they say they are in September, it's gonna be even crazier.
I thought they increased their threshold.
No, they increased.
It is.
You gotta be
The
upset.
seller is offering zero concessions.
You can't
There's
ask the
no
buyer to
agreement.
give you.
Unless the buyer has cash
Yeah, unless they have cash, yeah.
to pay you.
But I'm just saying FHA is kind of big right now because the interest rate and the payment makes sense for the client.
It's a very good point.
So you can increase your offer as long as it'll appraise and finance.
Yes. And FHA is always, FHA, right, they're more conservative on the appraisal, so just keep that in mind as well. They've always been more conservative and come out more on the house, so. Yeah.
Now we know why you're my workplace. Okay, any other questions? Any questions at all about the purchase agreement? In general, that maybe was didn't know, now's the time.
Not about the purchase agreement, but going back to something you mentioned earlier, as far as our value and we don't want to be the discount. There is times where I have a family member or a very good friend of mine where I kick back some closing costs. I don't do it except for those few.
But that's an exception, anyway.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure we're kind of, that's okay as far as this brokerage is concerned. Because there is gonna be times where it's just something I've always done and.
But that's when you come to.
Right.
Once they get it done, you get
Right,
which is
okay,
always been the way, you get approval
Yeah.
to go on.
Yeah.
And that's not a big deal.
okay.
So
'Cause I'm not-
if you're doing every transaction, then.
Right. Alright, cause it's, I'm sure everyone kind of here and there, you know. Family member.
That's why we have an approval process.
Okay,
right?
perfect,
So everyone giving back a lot to, you have to get myself request to approve that. And then we want to know why. We want to make sure that our agent is educated enough to be out in the community, to be a member of the value, right? But it's a family, it's a friend. They've done 6 deals with you. That's a different story. We get that. Because you know, yeah, that's correct. So that's not a problem at all.
thank you.
The most I paid was home warranty.
Yes, you're gonna get
You're
nothing.
pretty good to us.
That is so.
I'm a little bit too kid.
I'm good.
I want to say something about when the market becomes more of multiple offers again.
Yes.
So we need to be mindful because it happened to me before when the client says, oh, just remove all the contingencies. You need to point them to this area where what does that mean when you remove your contingency and the property doesn't appraise because.
So. No, she's getting it one. You can do that one. I don't know. So that's why I make it when you have a client who writes an offer who removes any contingency, any or all, it's the NCOA. That form explains to the buyer what they're doing with contingency, so that's why I require that form.
You have to verbally explain it to them because they won't read it. On this explanation here, they removed the appraisal contingency on the property. And I tell them, if you remove it and it doesn't appraise, you cannot use that as a way out. Oh, I cannot buy the house anymore. It didn't appraise. It says right here, you cannot use that. And I've had to explain that to a client before because they're like, they didn't have any money for the difference, the gap, but they want to remove the appraisal and it didn't appraise. That's a conversation you absolutely have to have a conversation, not just them reading. That's why I don't say. I told them I'm not paying the difference. You don't pay anything. I don't pay them.
We need to have a Christina sexy agent class about being a tight ass.
Oh, that's funny.
What about anything else? Anything else? This is
Yeah.
a open forum.
We had a listing agreement signed a month ago. We were supposed to go on the market before the 17th. We are not yet, hopefully about one more week. We do need a modification, listing.
Yep.
Cool. And then can we get a whiteboard with all those actors? Or a cheat sheet or is that, how do you remember all of that?
That we're dealing with right now.
That's not a
That
bad
one,
idea.
it's snap a picture or, you know, we come in, it refreshes our memory.
I think I'm gonna put it in the.
Yeah.
That's doing too much.
All gonna change, they're all gonna be different.
So you know what I did to make it easy for myself is I have a template in my form and I put all the forms in it. Like a buyer template and the seller template. So you don't have to ever remember, oh, what's included once I do this. I know it automatically spit it out because you click the box. But if you don't click the box, then it doesn't spit it out.
And then. Boxes. Because that's what triggers these forms, you know, triggers you to come up.
I have a question though.
Uh-huh.
Now, when you make a folder, will you go make another one and let's say they update the form? Does it update?
It automatically, yes, it does.
You're taking templates and zip forms?
Yes.
Okay.
And if the forms are obsolete, it'll tell you, when to utilize that.
Let's create a buyer.
It just takes time up front to get yourself. to make your job easier.
Yeah.
I also pre-filled the form on my side, like the WR and my information, so when I'm writing an offer, I don't have to go back to every single. It's done.
Speaking of templates too, I do recommend, I had success with it and, Neil just called me about it as well. Go on to Lofty on your PC, you won't be able to pull it up on the app. And send the buyer broker template to all your leads.
Did you pay that?
Uh,
I used it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of cheated with AI, so it's hard for me to take full credit. I attached the form and then AI wrote, well, and so, well, yeah, it actually sparked a bunch of conversations. And what's great, even if they don't want to go with me, it's the fact of the more you talk about this, the better you're going to be presenting it. And then on another, when we had the buyer broker, that form you showed me with the, let's see if I get this one. BIP.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember it. The buyer preferences about the criteria. Oh, serious. Oh, man.
Very close.
So that one, I personally created a template on my page, because Patrick created the template after I emailed him what I sent out. I sent that out as well to all the dead leads again. Just go, hey, just checking in. Wanted to update your criteria with this new form we just got, and got responses right away. Unfortunately, like 2 people were like, oh, actually, I'm not in the market anymore, but that's good for me to know. As far as, okay, I'm not going to keep hounding you then, but right? I knew that was coming. I also used AI to write the email as well.
Yeah, we cheated.
Right?
You need that anyway.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's not the finances. It's the preferences.
Property preferences?
Property preferences.
EIPP.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's that one just as a, I feel like the buyer broker is the best one because that's gonna be the real conversation starter. But this one was just to do a touch, so to speak. So if anybody,
You know, what I like about like the buyer broker was
Yeah.
to me also for people that maybe aren't sold that you're their agent, it's
Right.
awareness for them. Like if
right, it's already got you a leg up.
like, hey, how come the agent, this other person didn't ask?
Yeah, maybe I'm going the wrong way. Maybe I do need to go through some here. Yeah. So that's why I think it sparked a lot of, back and forth. It's good. And, anyone that lands a deal using that template.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just a round of golf.
Round of tacos.
Yeah, hey, I'm just tacos, 6 minimum.
Use that template, it's uploaded for you.
Yeah.
If anything is gonna great conversation, good or bad, but even bad is good, right?
Yeah, I had bad from it. I put it to 500 on my people, the same one, and the responses I got is, did you need to send me this? Like,
Yeah, I did.
like, they're like, we're not even looking right now or whatever. I go, no, yeah, I did. I'm just trying to educate everyone on what's going on or whatever. No, it's not bad.
And when I send it out to the sellers that I've sold to in the past, or but I changed that because you can go in and change a line or two. That's the best part. Is I then did it for sellers, and then I said something. If you're looking to sell your house in the future, you will need to know about this form. So, sorry I didn't mention that earlier.
Any conversation is good.
Right.
conversation.
Yeah.
Even-
Flag it, man.
You know, the only thing, commentary I have about the buyer broker, because it's such, too many pages. But who reads that? Our buyers are not gonna read 5 pages of it. Well, the only thing they need to know is on page 1. Everything else is explanation of page 1, right? So I'm like, page 1 and page 5, where the 3% appear again. Yeah, you'll be paying the 3%, so just to make sure you understand. I wish they just do it 1 page. Because our
Government thinks that
everybody's dumb. And that's why so many pages. But the grid format makes it right? It's just like the purchase agreement when it went to the grid format. Everyone freaked out for a minute, and then they're like, it's really just 3 pages.
You gotta call at 8 PM and they wanna see us on the next day at 9 AM.
We go find pages.
Tired, and they don't wanna open up, the email and read 5 pages,
Yeah.
just like.
If they can make it like the SPBB, which is a 1-pager, that would be really great. Remember, the buyer broker that you need to do exclusive if these are your clients, right? And they, so not only checking the box, check. They also have to initial section paragraph 15. Have to. If either of those are missing, they are not exclusive. What do you mean? I thought it's only 1, and I'm really looking at.
Lisa, the one that I got
Yeah,
tonight, he initialed that. That I do know.
check the box. And then it tells you in here too. Valid only if checked and initialed in paragraph 15. So I've looked at a lot of buyer brokers over the last couple of days and it's either or. So it's not a valid.
So I've been sending out an email. And that's page 1 and 5 only is the one that they need to, it needs to be.
I just had, I've had this happen a lot in the past and it just came up on another offer, and this is more for any newer agents in here. I know we've got a lot of seasoned vets. But just in case there's some newer agents, And I just had this happen and I kind of asked the listing agent about it. She's like, oh yeah, you're right. We should do that. Whenever you're offering a rent back, if they need 30 days, you should actually, if you can, try to limit it to 29. Because then you just are in charge of filling out the SIP form, which is the seller in possession. Because if you go over 29 days, then you legally need to have a lease in place. And then you go from signing one page. It's not so much the extra work. There's a lot of extra legalities too. Yeah. Because then this lease form is like 9-10 pages, bed bugs, all this other. Yeah. In that box is the M2 SD. Because if you check the first box, then it'll auto populate for the rent back. Yeah.
Which is the security deposit. $1,500.
Oh, wow, okay.
But
Yeah.
jump everywhere. Because if that seller stays in the property 29 days and they leave, once they leave, they're gone. And whatever they left behind is your responsibility.
Perfect example, we had a client, it's actually the house we're selling now. When we bought it, I put in a deposit, and this is exactly why you do it. It's exactly what Lisa said. The person, it was a divorce. They left any and everything behind, including wet clothes in the washer, which then came a mold smell in the garage. Called the agent immediately. I just had to snap like 4 pictures, and I've worked with this gentleman in the past. He's great. If you guys know Mike Perry, he's awesome. He's like, oh, looks like we owe you some money. And that was that. Because we had it on the form, money to be held into escrow as far as the deposit. So it's easy. But if you don't, your buyer is you're gonna have some moldy clothes they're gonna have to deal with. Yeah. Right.
Fine, right?
So once you have that deposit, Kevin, you just phrased it that you said that it's an escrow.
Right. It's held back from their profits.
Okay, so that he can't fight for.
Right. So it's the best because then it puts the onus on them. Like, well, shoot, the only way I'm getting my $1,000, $1,500 back is I need to clean this house up. So it's a great like motivational. Yeah.
So let's say that they do leave a message, you send it to the escrow.
No, you're gonna do it to the agent. Escrow's always the mediator. So you're gonna have to go with the listing agent.
Oh, I see.
You know, and all I do is snap your pictures. Hey man, it's like, looks like we owe some money. Send me the release of deposit to the buyer. There's a release of deposit form that you have to sign, and there's a few boxes you can check. We check the one that buyer to receive it, and then escrow sends the buyer the check. Pretty cool.
So really important that if I say minimum 1,500.
I said two because we always do 1,000, but 1,500 sounds.
You're gonna
Yeah. Right. That makes more sense nowadays anyways. Yeah.
I'm gonna negotiate that deposit for us getting half of it.
No,
It should because I still ended up cleaning all that stuff up. I'm the one who threw away all the clothes.
Right.
Yeah, right.
That's true. That's like, hey, 29 days or less is your best.
Yeah.
We really don't like some of the anything. It's just an ugly.
And then they have tenant rights after that. I had a situation where my the house and they couldn't move in and had to go to court to evict the tenant. And it took 4 months.
4 months. I think it's usually 3 to
Yeah,
6 months.
never,
to
I will
evict.
never allow 30 days again, ever. I'm like, no, 29.
Get them out. Something else I was gonna say about that. Deposit. Let 'em-
And I'm almost done. Nice house comes on. Get the back door and kick it for 6 months and then go to the next one.
Verification of property.
Good.
A lot of people go back, so we don't do a verification of property. Like, verification of property is so the buyer can say that at the time of closing, close of escrow, the property is in the same condition it was when they wrote the offer, and or any repairs that the seller agreed to do, the buyer can confirm that those are done. So if you still must do a VP at least 5 days before close of escrow to ensure those things. Now, you can do another one when they leave, which is a VP, it's more like a walkthrough, right? And that determines whether they get their deposit back or not. But a VP must always be done prior to close of escrow, regardless of if there's a rent back. Boom.
I think we've done that before where we did the VP, then on a line on the VP, we wrote to do a second, you know, so, you can always do that, yeah.
You can always do that. But if there's nothing to note, there's nothing to note. Our VPs always have to say something. We can't leave it blank. As a paralegal for 12 years, I don't like blank lines because anything can happen. I always have to have something. No NA, nothing to note. I don't care. A line, I don't care. Something. But always have to do a VP prior to close of escrow, regardless if there's a rent back. Okay. Anything else? Anything else?
What are we doing for Christmas?
We're gonna have
I can hold it.
Christmas
Sorry.
party.
But I do a lot of open house. And my client, they're doing open house.
You can have a great conversation with them about PSRA or the fire. Yes, you should. That's how you're tying them in. So you think I got a client, but they're really not your client until they've signed an agreement with you. So you can start off with the PSRA, which limits to 3 properties, which that one could be one of them. You can show them a couple more in the neighborhood. But it's truly, and again, it's situational because it's the conversation we have with people at the time, right? It's not a template that we can do. But if you're like, they're like, man, Tara, I love you and you are my agent for life. Here's my buyer broker agreement. And then you explain it to them.
Initially, just like they're kind of coming in, I don't really worry about.
No, and as in the past, we always should have a sign-in sheet, but we are not telling you guys you have to do any of those new sign-in sheets. It's not required by law that they sign something to come look at the open house. We're not gonna be that bad. At all. Because that brings confrontation right up front. And we don't want that. We don't want you to have that situation with anybody, let alone a potential client.
Open house, visitor log, that, are we supposed to have this for our Sky or no, it doesn't have to, it's just.
No, it's on Facebook if you do have it. Okay. But as we've said, we are not gonna be sticklers about that because that just leaves an ugly impression and you're trying to gain these people as clients, right? So, like I said to Tara, if they're, hey, can you show me more houses after this? Absolutely. Here's a form I need you to sign, PSRA. Or if they're salivating over you and they want you to be their agent for life, get them to sign the buyer broker. But the OHNA, the open house, non-agency, blah, blah, blah. If you want to do it, that's totally up to you. It's in Sky Slope. Only if you do it. I'm not requiring it at all. Because you're going to have a lot of people just not signing anything. Don't worry about it. Right. It was hard enough to get them to do a sign sheet before we had that form. Now, if your seller, it is referenced in the listing agreement. So if your seller requires it, then absolutely you must do it. We are not requiring it. It's your seller's house. If they want it done, that's what you do. All right, anything else? Please eat bagels and yogurt and fruits. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yes.
No. You want more? What do you want?
Why is it that I'm the only one requiring people to sign in the open house and I really don't let them in if they don't sign?
That's totally up to you. You can absolutely, that is your discretion. We are not requiring you to do that. But you can get someone to sign over their firstborn. So, it's not that crazy.
And then I always tell them, smile, you're on camera. We're open house.
if you want to use it, by all means, I support you, but I'm not making.
Oh, yeah, my grandson. I mean, he takes me to my open houses because, you know, he's a big black guy. Come over here. G-Baby, sit right here.
With fire in that house, I saw you there, remember?
Sit right here.
Your bodyguard though.
$20.
I have a question actually for everybody, the listing agreement. That spot that says, because that was last week's training, right?
No, that's next week.
Okay, good, because I'm like, I watched the video and why do I not remember? So the part where it asks if an unrepresented buyer, we were just talking, you know, if they offer, what are people putting for the percentage
I
there?
just did one, not yesterday. but,
Yeah.
2.5. I put it right here. You asking. On this one, 2%, because it's Leslie's client, so I'm just gonna.
2%, but if an unrepresented buyer comes through, you want 2.5 more.
So it'll be a total of 4.5%. Okay.
That's what I
What
did.
about everybody? Does that mean that you're representing the back?
No. It's a very.
Like if somebody buying.
Have an agent, you end up getting them, then your seller can pay.
So-
as well.
Right, so there's 2 ways to do that, guys, so I just explained this to you. The buyer does not have to be represented. However, you as the licensed professional in the state of California cannot give them information. Okay, and so if a buyer comes in and says, Sophia, I love this house, I want to write an offer, can you do that for me, but you're not my agent? I'm gonna take care of myself, I just need you to write the offer to the seller. That's unrepresented. And she does no buyer broker with me, nothing, I'm unrepresented. Now, it's her due diligence to make sure that I have all the forms I need that are required by the state of California and the transaction.
Yeah.
But she does not do any negotiating for me.
Okay.
She does not help me fill out any forms. She doesn't order inspect. She does none of that. Okay. Now, if I say, Sophia, I love this house and I want to write an offer. Can you be my agent?
Yes. The BRBC form.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now she's dual representation. The other one is really sticky. It's not dual representation because you're not representing her, but by law you have to.
And you can charge for that.
Yes, and that's
But
exactly.
then it ends up being cheaper anyway for your seller because they're not paying the 5 or 6%, they're paying the 4.5. or whatever it is you put there.
Right.
I mean,
I would say.
2.5, that's like a whole commission.
I do 3% is my commission. And if there's an unrepresented buyer, I want another %.
Right.
That's my
I know what I
listing
did
agreement.
too.
I can see
Or
that.
it's only 4%.
I can see that going ugly because if I am a buyer, I ask you to write the offer for me and you're not my agent. You are licensed, right? You're giving me all the information, but
You said
it's still,
she has to give you.
so if something wrong with the house because I didn't know I need to get an inspection later, right?
That's on you.
Then I can go back and say, well, you're the licensed agent.
Nope.
The contract tells you that you're represented by everything you need to do, including inspections. It's in your read.
They only read,
So that is not on us.
it's not gonna come back on the listing agent.
Because the buyer do not want you to just write the offer. We're not having an agency because there is no agency. right? Where you would put the buyer's agent information is just the buyer's information. There's no agent.
The RPA automatically spit out the agency,
But you
you
don't
need to just take it out.
Because this is a very rare situation.
Right.
But even in the RPA where it asks for the agents, right? She represents the seller. And for the buyer, that's the buyer's name because they're unrepresented. Period.
How often does that happen?
Nah, hardly none at all.
So
Yeah, we
kind of-
might see it more now.
We might, that's why I'm saying right now, if we see something like that and the buyer is trying to say, okay, I don't want to pay you, so just write the offer,
Mhm.
I buy the house, and then you didn't explain everything to me, and there's a problem with that leaking or something. What do I do now?
paying you, the federal's paying you, and rather so there's like.
You choose to not be represented. But here's why I say that dual agency is going to have to be manipulated. Because this is gonna get ugly, because our government thinks that the consumer is an idiot. Oh, poor consumer, they said they didn't want to be represented, but you bad agent, you should have taken care of them. That's why they put that line in the listing agreement. We do have to take care of them, but we don't negotiate for them. And that's why my 3% listing agreement and 1% if they're unrepresented, because I'm really not doing a lot. I'm gonna give them all the documents. Ordering inspections, I'm not negotiating for them.
Give us the documents, are you just emailing PDFs or are you docu-signing so they can sign?
That's up to you. And no explanation
whatsoever, right? You don't explain anything.
we give them a packet.
And treat them as the idiots that our government thinks they are. Here you go, here's paper, right? Because
Half of it. Then you have to go back as the listing agent, not their agent. Can you please review?
please review these and complete them. They're not complete. And then it's your discretion. Well, what's not complete? Tell them, who cares, right?
If we just give them a PDF or PA, like, here you go, good luck, feel.
You could, if they want to do that, but
I'm gonna guarantee you that a buyer's gonna say, can you write the offer? They don't know. They don't wanna pay. Okay, but by not paying, you're not getting service. Figure it out. Here's everything.
Up when you put whatever it is, what, it's like 2.5%, right?
Right?
But my thinking is you want to get them used to paying out. If somebody's coming in, whether it be represented or unrepresented, paying out 2.5%. That's what you need to have saved aside.
That could be brilliant.
Yeah, that's my thinking. That's why I keep explaining it. 2.5% because whether you're paying me or another agent, you're going to be paying this. Yeah, you're paying, period. That's just.
It's kind of what I put my TC
That
was like, you should change that. Are you sure you would? I'm like, and that's why I questioned it.
because that's exactly what we were doing in the old listing.
We made signs for it.
Yes, we did.
So right now,
I just
right.
but
Understand what she was saying?
I'm represented by our firm. Represented by your house, but so you're paying. This amount.
I think that's fine. Do we have any questions about that?
So how much did you put for that?
So 2.5, so,
If you represent the bike.
right,
And-
well, no, if I'm represented by, so it's 4.5 total
Okay.
percentage, right? In here, but normally you want to do 5% or more, but this is Leslie's thing, so. here's that, so 2%. 2% higher.
Wait, so I guess now I do have a question. 2.5% from represented buyers, so all I'm getting for is for me to write an offer? Or
Yeah.
to have
Not even,
represent
not even, right, the offer. You offer the document. That'd be the best paying, position you can be in.
Yeah.
Does anybody see how that can write up in the budget? Yes, it's brilliant, but it's also.
If something goes wrong later, the seller can go after the listing agent and say, I paid you for this unrepresented. Why did you not?
What I'm getting at is the fact that eliminate buyer's agents, everybody does that because. But as an office, so we get, right, there's always good and bad. As an office, that's really cool. And another office was doing that. And we were like, "Wait, what about us?" Now we're pissed about it. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, but it is.
Hey, so, we got a coming soon. This is all you need to know. It's in Antioch, 3-2,
I'm gonna have to wait.
1,700 square feet, 3-car garage, paid solar, $599. Let's go.
Write a video.
There's more. That's cool. I'm sorry, this was negotiated.
I have.
Do you see that? I'm thinking. that's
There was a
what-
Facebook post, in Concord, it was a flip. They're putting it on, showing start September 1st. I think they're going live the 14th. If they get an offer by the 16th, so 2 days on the market, they get an offer, they're offering 3.5.
And you know, I also see that and like. they're good.
Yeah.
They're kind of selling a house, I'm thinking they're gonna have to have to get-
Right.
You want to put up your compact, right?
Is it like pencil?
Qualify for this.
We just wanna sell them. Let's go.
Thank you.
As always, thank you. Just a phone call away or come in.